So, can you tell us a little bit about these results that came out from IDC?
Yeah, so IDC releases wearable shipment volume data on a quarterly basis. And so earlier this week, they released their most recent installment of that. No huge surprises here in terms of what the landscape looks like. It pretty much mirrors what we saw last time in terms of the top of the market share. So Fitbit came in with 4.7 million shipment volumes. Apple was second with 3.9 million shipments. Xiaomi in third with 3.7. And just to give you an idea of what that means in terms of the larger market, we saw about 21 million shipments. So the respective market share as a percentage for those three top players, 22%, 18%, and roughly 17.5%.
Okay. And where did we see some of the biggest shifts? I know that, the Apple Watch came out, I believe it was April of this year, so that kind of threw things a bit with a lot of new buyers coming into the market for the second quarter. And it looks to me like Xiaomi also had a really big boost for at least year over year for this most recent period.
Yeah, I think the tough thing when you look at this IDC data is, the wearables market is so nascent. And there have been these weird hop-ins from major players at different times. So a lot of the data is really lumpy. And you can't look, it's really kind of meaningless on a year-over-year basis, or even sometimes on a sequential basis, as we'll find out, because the landscape has changed so dramatically in the course of, even like 3 months' time or 6 months' time. So if you want year-over-year growth, for what it's worth, just look at what the whole market looks like. Q3 2014 saw 7.1 million shipments. Again, 21 million shipments in this most recent quarter. So that's good for almost 200% increase in total market size. Sequentially, we saw 16% growth. Q2 had 18.1 million shipments.
Okay.
So that might be a little disappointing when you think about the Q1 to Q2 growth, which was almost 60% sequentially. And this kind of plays into that lumpiness I was talking about a little bit. So again, the Apple Watch came out in Q2, and that was a product that added like 3.6 million shipments to the category.
Wow.
And I think another thing that's important to keep in mind here is this is the quarter right before the big holiday sales rush. And so I wouldn't be totally surprised, and maybe this is something you can add a little color on, you talk CG a little bit more. But I'm guessing there are some folks out there that have something like this on their wish list, or are thinking about buying it for someone else, but are going to wait until either the sales that come with the Black Friday season, Cyber Monday season, or are just looking to wait just to give it as a holiday gift in general.
Yeah, that is actually something I saw. There's definitely been some echoes that Apple will prove to be a big winner, I guess as usual for at least the Black Friday, Cyber Monday period, where their iPads and their Apple Watch saw a lot of buy-in, especially with just a little discount that they needed. I think it was like $50 off, for example, the Apple Watch, to get people at the level where they would be willing to try it out. They also launched like some native apps for the device, which I think have got people a little more excited about it too. So it's definitely, I definitely think the Apple Watch was a hot item for the Black Friday period.
Yeah. And looking at some of the other company-specific takeaways from this data release.
Sure.
We talked about some of the big names. I think, so Garmin kind of held constant at, it being slightly relevant in the space, but not like really worth talking about all that much.
Sure.
But I think the biggest surprise is the player that came in at number 5, which is new to a lot of people, is Chinese manufacturer XTC, which is owned by BBK. And they displaced Samsung to be the 5th largest wearable shipper in the most recent quarter. And I think the last time we did this check-in on this quarterly data about 3 months ago, we said Samsung was one of the biggest losers because, you look at some of the big tech companies out there and they're owning the space. Like Apple's coming in and immediately becoming the second biggest player.
Yeah.
Samsung's been around for quite a while with products and hasn't really seemed to make it work. And they're losing market share to, these tiny players that are just establishing themselves. And you think of the resources that are available to a big tech company like that, and you have to think, what's going on over there?
Yeah, the really surprising thing for me, too, that when you mentioned with BBK is, they grabbed up that market share, was able to displace Samsung. And it sounded like it was just from one device that they have that's kind of targets younger consumers. So I thought that was really interesting.